So my 2025 no longer has a purpose because all of my most anticipated releases have been released. It's not even 6 months into the year and I no longer have anything to look forward to. I'm going to be ranking my 3 most anticipated reads of 2025 since this is all I had to look forward to. And they all came out a little bit too early in the year. We have Onyx Storm that came out in January. We have Fearless that came out in the beginning of April. And we have Watch Me that came out the week after. That's kind of sad for me now, but I did have a really, really good time reading it. Thank God that none of them let me down because if I looked forward to these books for so long and I was disappointed, I would throw myself out of a window. Let's get ranking, I guess. I'm gonna go from 3 to 1. First on my note, third on my list. I wouldn't say the lowest rated one really because I rated all of these really, really high. So keep in mind, I loved all of these books, but they each fed me with different things that put them higher up on my list. We have Watch Me. Story-wise, I was anticipating the other 2 more, but for my heart to be full, I was anticipating Watch Me the most because if you did not know, I love Shatter Me. You really should know by this point that I love Shatter Me. I'm gonna remind you one more time. Here's my Aaron Warner tattoo. I love Shatter Me. Having finished Shatter Me not that long ago and hearing, oh my goodness, they're coming back, I was like, thank God, because I was just about to reread Shatter Me. I couldn't live without them. And this book delivered every little bit of nostalgia that I was looking for. I missed these characters so much and getting to be with them again was chef's kiss. Watch Me takes place 10 years in the future, so it's technically a spin-off series of Shatter Me, where James Anderson is trying to pretty much infiltrate the one place that Aaron Warner was not able to take over, Ark Island. This is an enemies to lovers book, and the thing that I love the most about it is since James grew up with all of our favorite characters from the Shatter Me series, he very much took a lot of their personalities and created the ultimate book boyfriend. This man is as delusional as Aaron Warner was, as funny as Kenji is, as unhinged as Aaron Warner was, and as sweet talking as Adam was. He is perfection, and I was in it the entire story. For me, Watch Me felt like I was reading a fan fiction about all of my favorite characters, except it is published and written by the author. What a win! What a win! I anticipated being a bit more invested in the story. Not that I wasn't invested in the story, but I thought that I was gonna be like, already, let's go, it's a new world, but I was more invested in my characters. That's on me. That's on me because I really, really miss these characters with my entire soul. I think it's valid that I was more focused on them than I was on the story. I'm sorry. The story seems like it's going to be really, really good. The story follows a more modernized dystopian society where like artificial intelligence is taking over, and it freaks me out. But I did not pay too much attention to that because Rosabelle, our main girl, so weird, and I was so interested in her. And all of the other characters took the entirety of my attention. All that to say, it made me feel wonderful. I don't care. I was on cloud 9 reading this. It like filled the part of my soul that was aching for more Aaron Warner and for more Shatter Me and for more them and that family. It was absolute perfection. I could not recommend reading the Shatter Me series more, especially now knowing that this series is going to be phenomenal, and dare I say, it might actually beat Shatter Me. Not Aaron Warner, but it might actually beat the world building in Shatter Me because it seems so interesting. And considering this is like a fresh start for Shatter Me, I think this is like a perfect time to start reading Shatter Me. Just in case you do not know, I think this is the only copy they sell, but this is the deluxe edition, and look how pretty she is. Ooh. I love it. This book was so much fun. It was the most fun that I had from the 3 books that I was anticipating. I was a giggling mess. I felt like a schoolgirl who had just held hands with a boy for the first time. It was so embarrassing, but I had so much fun with it. I gave the book 4.25 stars, I believe. The only reason being that I think the next books are going to pick up story-wise more. So I didn't want to rate the book solely on the fact that I loved these characters because I already knew these characters. I want to rate it based off of the world that it gave me, the new characters that it gave me, the new relationships that were being built, and all of that. I feel like James is going to be a really, really strong book boyfriend, and I feel like Rosabelle is actually going to be one of the most interesting characters I'm ever going to read about because she's extremely unique, and I feel like the world is going to build up a lot more. But for now, I feel like we got like a really solid basis for the next book in the series and for the rest of the series. So I'm not going to give it 5 stars because I can anticipate that there are going to be some 5, maybe 6-star books in the rest of this series. So from the 4.25 stars, this was my extremely lengthy review. you. This was my favorite 10-year family reunion ever. The way I was giggling for these characters has to be studied. Maybe it was because Aaron Warner was back on this page. I could not handle my excitement. The way I read this book in one sitting is crazy. I did. I read it the day after it came out. Actually, you will come to find out that I read all of these books within 24 hours of it being released. I sat and I read it in, I couldn't put the book down. I read it in one like straight sitting and it was phenomenal. Obviously, if it was good if I couldn't put it down. Tahira Mafi writes the most bingeable stories, the references, the Easter eggs, the parallels. God, I am so happy to be back in this world. Seeing all the characters I love so dearly interacting, how they've grown as people, and how their relationships have developed filled me with so much joy. Their family has evolved in a way I could only imagine after Believe Me. It was like our own personal little Shatter Me fan fiction, but written by the best. As I said, just to get it out of my system, Warner. Still not out of my system. I love that man! Now back to the book. Since this one's about another Anderson, James, I was a bit nervous going into it since James never crossed my mind while reading the original series. You'll never guess who I was focusing on. Warner. But I was so pleasantly surprised. He is the absolute perfect love child of Kenji and Eren in the best way. He's funny and chaotic, but knows when to turn it off for cold-blooded murder. Please. Perfection, if you ask me. Roosevelt, on the other hand, is one of the most interesting and unique characters I've ever read about. Let me tell you, Tahira Mafi knows how to write crazy very well. I felt like I was able to feel every bit of trauma, insanity, pain, and confusion. Way too many emotions. This woman had me kind of going psycho with her. She's a character I am aching to learn more about. The world made me so incredibly uncomfortable in the best way. It's one of the only dystopian books I've read that felt far too close and believable for comfort. Almost like an expansion of where the story was headed in the last two Shatter Me books. Watch Me dove heavily into the technology and how far it could be taken, which was absolutely horrifying. I felt like I was reading a Black Mirror episode, but all of my favorite people were the ones being targeted. This book felt like an amazing base for the rest of the series. Less like its own story right now, and more like a recap of where the world and characters ended up after Shatter Me. Like a little tea and lore session, but it definitely feels like the story will start taking its own shape in the upcoming books. Dare I say, the series might even be heading in a stronger direction than Shatter Me did. For my Shatter Me girlies, this book will feed your soul. I cannot wait to find out more and be heartbroken with all of these characters again. I'm expecting much more pain and trauma than the first book led us to believe. That is where I stand with Watch Me, as I'm achingly waiting for the next book. Which brings me to book 2, which automatically will let you know what my #1 read of 2025 is. Book 2 for me, surprisingly, because I swore it was going to be book 1, is Onyx Storm. Onyx Storm was the first book that I binged this year, and it's actually the first book that I have ever read in one sitting in 24 hours the day that it was released. I was at Target before it opened at 6 in the morning, got the book, and was reading this thick piece of ass for the entire day, and I finished at 2 in the morning, and let me tell you, it was so worth it. This book for me gave me everything that Iron Flame didn't. I knew for a fact that I was going to adore Onyx Storm, but Iron Flame had left me kind of disappointed. The world building did not feed my soul, it just confused me more. However, Onyx Storm, I feel like it allowed me to go into all of these different continents and actually learn more about the culture of all of the characters. I felt like I was finally getting a better grasp on the world. I really enjoyed learning about their cultures and the different ways they handle political situations, and I loved seeing Xaden Ryerson become slightly more unhinged every single time he was on the page. This is the hottest that Xaden Ryerson has ever been. This book, Carrie, this brought this man up on my list. Like, I already liked Xaden, but wow, what he pulled in this book, I think I like my men just a little bit insane. I love him so much. This book gave me faith in Fourth Wing once again. I liked Fourth Wing. Iron Flame was like, yeah, well, and then Onyx Storm was like, don't worry, we fixed it, we are back in the game. Onyx Storm saved Fourth Wing for me, and I am now very sad about it because I have to wait 2 years. 2 years with the way that this book ended. I have to wait 2 years to get the next book, and I think that that's really messed up because the way that this book ended left me just staring out. I was just like, I'm sorry. Nothing could have possibly prepared me for that ending. I feel like I could anticipate some things that happened in the ending, but definitely the twist that she put on that ending left me so angry. So angry because why aren't you going to give me more information? Why are you going to drop all of that on me? And the last 3 pages of the book, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? This book was a 5 stars for me when I finished reading it. It did drop afterwards. It was a 5-star for me because the book, phenomenal. The engagement that I had with the book, phenomenal. The romance, oh my god, that's another thing. Iron Flame, that miscommunication trope pissed me off. Onyx Storm, I started seeing their relationship develop in a much stronger way, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. And the romance was perfection. The world building was perfection. Everything was perfection, but then when I finished the book and a few days passed, I have no clue what happened in that book. Don't ask me to recap the book for you because I have absolutely no goddamn idea. So I did inevitably have to drop the rating just a tad because I feel like if I'm gonna rate a book 5 stars, I should at the very least remember 75% of the events that happened in that book, and I remember a good 3. But it is still high for me because I thoroughly enjoyed everything I don't remember. I gave Onyx Storm hello. I gave Onyx Storm 4.75 stars, which is still deliciously good. So I just dropped it by 0.25. Don't hate me, don't kill me, please. I put, let's talk Miss Yarrow. Sit down right now. I had high hopes for this book, especially after Iron Flame, I'm sorry. And it did not disappoint. I'm still in awe of how incredible it was. It was honestly a masterpiece. This is the first book I've ever read in one sitting. I lost sleep for these characters and I don't regret a second of it. I'll admit, I felt a little lost for half the book. There were so many people, places, and customs introduced that it was hard to keep up at times. But even when I wasn't entirely sure where we were, I followed the story everywhere it went and had such an amazing time. I pretty much felt like, you know when you were a kid, you don't know the directions to where you're going, but you're really happy, like you're going to like a ton of places. You're going to the mall, Disney, I don't know, but you're just getting dragged by your parent and you're looking at everything. You're like, look at the butterflies, look at this. Like I was like a little child just following them along for the journey, and I was loving every second of it. The world building was breathtaking. So much thought and care clearly went into creating diverse cultures and traditions, and I devoured every detail. I finally connected with every cadet in this book, and it was beautiful. I felt for them, I suffered with them, I panicked with them. Violet's character has grown so much. She's incredibly strong now, fully confident in herself and her path. Her relationship has deepened. No more silly miscommunication. Thank God! The bond with her dragons has strengthened, and we finally got insight into who she is and what her future holds. Everything feels different now, and it's so bittersweet. I felt like this book actually gave me good insight on every single character. Not that they didn't have depth before, but now I'm finally really starting to feel them on a deeper level, not just know of their past and their trauma and all of these things. I think she did really well on fleshing out the characters in this book that I'm still in absolute awe. Like I miss them so much. Gave me book 4, Rebecca. I do, however, have beef with one thing. That ending. It was so goddamn good, but why would you do that? How am I supposed to move on from this? Genuinely, this book should come with free therapy sessions because I'm unwell and I have no answers. Might be contradictory, but it was perfectly ruthless. You ripped my heart out and I loved it. What an absolute piece of art. No matter how confused I felt at times, there was no doubt in my mind this book was phenomenal. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll be spiraling about the fact that it came out yesterday and the next book is nowhere in sight. I genuinely don't know how I'm going to survive this one. I already miss these characters so much. This was the one that I was anticipating the most because all of the teasers that Rebecca Yarros was posting made me feel like it was gonna rip my heart out, and goodness me, it did. I love this book. I love this book, and that is moving on to my number 1 read of 2025. Not just my number 1 most anticipated read of 2025. This book has jumped to my favorite book so far, all of 25, and dare I say, it might be my favorite book for the rest of 2025. Fearless by Lauren Roberts. She was posting teasers about Fearless non-stop, possibly more than Rebecca Yarros. But I did not think that it was going to kill me. And let me tell you, this book fucking destroyed me. This book tore me to shreds. It was the I've only ever cried in Throne of Glass and Fearless. It was not as guttural of a sobbing session as Kingdom of Ash was, but this was a very close second. This book fucking destroyed me. I have so much beef with this book. 5 stars, maybe 6 stars. I'm still, it's been a month and I'm really considering 6 stars because it's been a month and I have not stopped thinking about this book for a second. If you want to see how much this book destroyed me, just know that I did post a reading blog of it and I was dying. The amount of love that I have for this book is not okay. You should be able to tell from the energy shift. Like, I love the other 2 books, but this book, oh my God. This book was God tier for me. This book, if you've read Powerless, you know what Powerless is about, correct? Well, we did not end very well at the end of Reckless. The end of Reckless was mean, and I was waiting and I was anticipating and I was like, oh my God, oh, I don't like anything. And then this book made me realize I hate everything. Oh, just give me a second. This woman knows how to write banter like it is her full-time job, which it is, but she writes banter like if she's bantering 24 hours of the day. It is such good slow burn and such good yearning, and Malachi Azar, the man that you are. When I said Zayden rose on my book boyfriend list, let me tell you, Kai Azar rose higher on my book boyfriend list. That man was an absolute poet through all of Fearless. Oh, I miss him. Oh my god. Oh my god. Their relationship through all of Fearless was just chef's kiss. This book was so well written that I was able to get past some plot points that were kind of controversial in some ways, but I'm gonna be so honest, I did not care. I did not care because this book was so well written. This is one of the best YA romances I've ever read. Do not compare it to Aaron Warner, please. Please, we know our limits here. But their relationship was so beautiful. The way their relationship was developing was so close to not being YA that my soul was absolutely fed. Just know if Lauren Roberts wrote an adult series, I'd be on the floor because I don't know how to handle any more than what she already gave us. Kai, the man that you are. The man that you are. I'm gonna just give you some of his lines so you can fully understand what I mean by Kai Azar, the man that you are. If you haven't read Fearless, I'm not gonna spoil anything, I swear. But I highlighted so much in this book, and actually I'm still highlighting about this book because this book is everything I'm thinking about all the time. Actually, I might do a powerless reread just because the amount of foreshadowing that she did not warn us about or did not make very clear hurt. It hurt real bad because she has had this planned for so long and I hate her for it. Oh, sorry. You think I would not beg to run away with you? My duty may be to the king, but my heart pay is wherever you are. It is in the palm of your hand, the pad of your thumb. So if you leave, I will follow. If you stay, I will bow. Because there has never been a moment when you did not own the only piece of me that mattered. Loving you made me matter, and I ache to be full again. This man is a poet. This man is such a good book boyfriend. No worries, I read you another one. I know you're begging to hear more. I've gotten rather good at memorizing every sound she makes, every laugh from her throat, every shuffle of her feet, every sigh against my mouth. I give you one more. I give you one more. This one is really out of context, but good even if you don't know what's happening. But if you've read the book, it's even better. This girl holds my heart in her hands, could crush it between her fingers, and still have me thanking for the touch. And I hold her shoes. Oh my god, I miss them, I miss them, I miss them, I miss them. I think about this book way too often. This book, oh my god. The thing that hurts the most is that this is the end. This is the end of the Powerless series. Why? Why? I still don't really know how I'm supposed to move on from these characters in this world. I think she said she's gonna write more books in this world, and I think we're getting one more novella in the Powerless series. I would like it to be a kit novella. Lauren, hear me out. Please. Like, I need it. I need it. Please. Yeah, I'm a kid defender and what? Don't bring no kid hate to my channel. Go away. And that ending. Oh golly gee willikers! That ending was so... I don't want to say anything. But she actually tore my heart out of my chest, crushed it in her fingers, and then just daintily put it back together and put it back in my chest. And that epilogue was by far the best epilogue I have ever read in my entire life, and might as well be engraved in my soul, because the way that I started sobbing reading that epilogue was atrocious. And actually, if I still keep reading the epilogue, I will start crying again. I can't handle it. Pick up Powerless. It's over now. It's over. If for people that want a completed series, you got 3 books to read, 1 novella, and another novella coming later. But just forget the novellas. Read the first one though. Read Powerful. It's so necessary. It's gonna break your heart for Fearless. But know that our main trilogy is done. So this is your sign. Go break your heart and read it. Go read Powerless for me, and then come back to me, because I still need people to talk to about it, because my heart has not been mended yet. My Fearless review. This one hurt to write. I gave Fearless, you'll never guess, 5 stars. I've been avoiding this review because my heart cannot handle admitting that this chapter has finally come to an end. Right now, I'm teetering between a 5 and a 6 star because the book has consumed my every waking thought since the second it hit the shelves. Why, you ask? As someone who enjoyed Powerless and struggled with Reckless, Fearless has them both beat. I expected it to be good, but not jaw-dropping, world-shattering, heartbreaking, tear-jerking levels of good. From the very beginning, we were already off to a messy start, right where we were left reeling from the absolute disaster at the end of Reckless. As awful as someone's decision was, it made for spectacular yearning. The burn in this book was unmatched. The way they needed each other had me drooling. Mr. Poet Azure took the spotlight. This man was spitting bars like his life depended on it every time he opened his mouth. The absolute adoration he has for Peyton has officially put him at the top of my book boyfriends list. The fun part, the best atrocious full circle decision. We're back at the trials! Aha! I love games! These games had me way more on the edge than in Powerless because the stakes, terrifying, and fair warning, the third trial, oh wow. Like, oh wow! I'm still speechless. I felt like my soul was ripped out of my body. From that moment until the final page, I was gasping, sobbing, and spiraling. Lauren Roberts said the bills were due and made sure to collect. She threw in so many plot twists. I felt like I was launched into oncoming traffic, survived, and then immediately fell into a ditch to mourn alone. Even if you think you can guess where it's going, there are too many turns to keep up with, especially with that ending. I clearly wasn't ready to write this review because every time I think about those last 5 chapters, I want to curl up in a ball, cry, and never see the sunlight again. What an ending. She said it would be bittersweet, but I never imagined it would be this bitter and this sweet. I couldn't have dreamed up a more perfect way to close the story, even with the tears that came with it. And the epilogue, the best epilogue I have ever and possibly will ever read. I was a wreck. The emptiness, the comfort, and reading the prologue afterwards. Oh my god. Also, you're not gonna understand the prologue when you read Fearless. Please, when you finish the book, please go back and read it just so you can get stabbed in the chest. All I'm begging for now is a novella and more books in this incredible world. Maybe it's time to reread and soak in my sorrows. I miss them so much. I never want to say goodbye, so this is just a good way to say bye until whatever the hell. So that book absolutely consumed my 2025, and I'm going to say, I'm not even a little bit disappointed. My 3 most anticipated releases of 2025 did the job so well that all I can say is I have spectacular taste because I'm never disappointed. That also comes with, I have nothing else to look forward to for the rest of 2025. We are at the beginning of May. Do you know what it is to go another 7 months without anything to be happy about? I'm sitting here waiting for my Avatar 6 announcement. Please, I need something to look forward to or I'm going to have a mental breakdown. But I will say one book that I did not come into 2025 knowing I was going to want to read because I read the first book in January. Quicksilver, the sequel, comes out in November, Brimstone, and that one has added itself to my 2025 most anticipated releases, and I cannot wait for that book. I am actively like counting the days until I get that book, probably because of the fact that I have nothing to live for after these last 3 books have ended. So expect a Brimstone and Quicksilver update from me in November. Got to ways to wait, but that also gives you time to read Quicksilver because I'm telling you guys, that book is going to be spectacular. That man is spectacular. Here we have it. An awful middle to a story, a far worse ending to a story, and a very happy beginning to a story. If you haven't read any of these books, go read them because these 2025 releases from these series, chef's kiss. If you want to give me a reason to live for, give me something else to look forward to this year, please do. Please do before I lose my will to live even further. Please, I need something to keep me going. Give me recommendations that are getting released this year. That's the only way I'm gonna make it through the months. I can't just have my next release in November, I'm begging you. I'm going to go soak in my sorrows now. Goodbye.